Very well. With your permission, I hunt there tomorrow night. Don't say it, Dally pleaded. In the Tower of Demons. Men-dalis' brother put his head on the table and groaned. Outside, bells began to ring, people to shout, fireworks to explode. Inside, everyone except those at his table stood up, and to the horror of the innkeeper, began with great solemnity to smash the furniture. The Feast of Fools had begun.
What are you reading?
Stalk by P.C. Hodgel.
Would I like it?
Would you like it? I mean, would you like diving deep into a wild fantasy city full of inventive religions, factions, and characters? If you want some awesome urban fantasy that is not modern, that could have been set in Tolkien's Middle-earth if Minas Tirith was less a shining, idealized white city and more of a dirty, sprawling Middle Ages New York, then yeah, you're gonna love this. Honestly, this book delivers on the promise of its back cover more than most. So here's the back cover. Welcome to the holy city of Titastigon, overrun with thieves and lousy with gods. Welcome to the house of the luck-bringers, where the ale flows. The jokes are ribald, and if you're lucky, you can see the Kensir girl dance. She's a thief apprenticed to the master thief, the only living being who knows the secret of his ways. Why, she stole the very breeches off the Sky King himself. And if you want to hear a tale even wider than that, just listen. So if that sounds good to you, you're going to love Stalk.
All right. What's not to like?
Well, there's no strong central plot. It's more of a knot of subplots. There's a lot of characters and names that can be difficult to keep track of. It's messy, so if you don't like mess, you're not going to like it. This is the sort of novel that would make an amazing TV series, but a crappy movie. Each chapter has multiple little subplots, but the whole book has little in terms of an overall arc. So if you're looking for something organized and focused, you should look elsewhere.
Okay, so real question, did you like it?
Yeah. Stalk was published in 1983. I picked up a copy from a library book sale with zero expectations, started reading, and there are treasure hoards guarded by demons that will eat whatever bits of your soul they can lay teeth on. A poor thief is withering away without his complete soul. You can see it in his shadow, which is missing its head. There are outrageous holidays like the Feast of Fools, during which the gods sleep and men cannot be seen or judged by their eyes. And there's almost always more than one thing happening at a time. I do want to compare it a little bit to The Promise of the Child, even though both books are accomplishing a lot simultaneously and can be confusing. I actually found Stalk to be a lot easier to understand. Stalk follows a single character, chronologically, in one city. The Promise of the Child, by contrast, it's not only many plots and names, but many characters across many locations, and it's not even in chronological order. So if I gave ratings, I would rate Stalk above The Promise of the Child, and that is a huge compliment because I really did like The Promise of the Child. This book is like an open-world video game in novel form. There's this amazing fantasy world that is constantly being explored in all its nooks and crannies, and the depth is incredibly convincing and interesting. And there's even hints enough of this broader world that the reader comes away with this feeling of immensity and wonder. And also, I'm always a sucker for nice language, which it's got. Listen to this. Here you go. You can read along, Shai.
It was getting dark. Silence clung batlike to the charred rafters, swelled up out of the shadowed hollows in the heaped debris. A rat scratched and snuffled in the ruins, claws scrabbling briefly on a bone-white board. To go back or forward, return to the heart of Lower Town, or press on toward the deadly circle of her own temple. Night breathed in her ear, waiting to pounce.
That's all very good, but as an author, what can I learn from this book?
Two things. How to control the speed of the narrative, and how to control the perspective. I'm going to start with perspective. So most modern novels are either written in first person or third person. First person uses I, me, my pronouns, and the reader only knows what the perspective character knows or perceives. Third person close is a limited perspective, focusing on a single character, at least per chapter. And like in first person, the reader only knows what that one character knows or perceives. Then there's third-person omniscient, where the reader may know about any character's knowledge, emotions, secrets, perceptions, even things that are perceived by none of the characters. So most movies and TV are a form of third-person omniscient. And this perspective works totally fine in movies and TV, because there's usually this wealth of audio and visual cues that can help the audience understand what they're seeing, even after a sharp cut to a new scene or a new point of view. But that's not true of written media. Every cue has to be delivered word by word, jumping between characters' thoughts and perspectives, even within a limited time and location, is difficult for the writer to execute and is jarring for the reader if it's not done really well. And yet, the point of view in Godstalk is third-person omniscient. This works because the parts that are outside of the main character's perspective are brief, the transitions are gracefully executed, so that it feels more like the camera is sweeping around before settling on the protagonist, much more than it feels like a confusing sort of teleportation from one set of eyeballs to the next. Listen to this excerpt and see how the perspective is managed, but also the speed of the narrative. Think about how much time is passing in particular sentences.
Dawn surprised Jamie, with no decision made. The widow, coming down early on a baking day, found her already up to her elbows in dough and pummeling away at it with all the frustrated energy of a mind at war with itself. Wise Clepide set to work without a word, and between them they soon plunged the kitchen deep into a floury fog that did not lift until late morning. Then came the baking, then the scrubbing, all in silence, all at a pace that even the tireless widow began to regret. She was just beginning to wonder, rather desperately, if she was about to be launched into spring cleaning 2 months early, when Jamie suddenly put aside her apron and left the inn. The widow collapsed into a chair. "Don't ask," she told a startled Kithra.
I mean, holy shit. So this is what it's like to have a montage in a novel. But first there's perspective. So Dawn surprised Jamie with no decision made. This is Jamie's perspective. No one else even knows she has a decision to make. She was just beginning to wonder, rather desperately, if she was about to be launched into the spring cleaning 2 months early. That is in the widow Clepide's perspective. Because the camera pulls back between the switch in perspectives to the more general view of the work in the kitchen, shared and experienced by both of them, it's not as confusing when we move to the other character's perspective. Also, the reader knows that Jamie has a tough decision on her mind, whereas Clepide is simply industrious and always willing to take advantage of an extra helping hand. So there's no confusion about whose perspective we're in. And then there's the fine control of the passage of time. They soon plunged the kitchen deep into a floury fog that did not lift until late morning. This is such a lovely description of the morning's events, the hours zipping by as they're getting all this work done. And then suddenly everything stops in a moment. The widow collapsed into a chair. "Don't ask," she told a startled Kithra. We don't need to see all the details of baking all morning, but then, by showing a brief action, collapsed into a chair, the pace is slowed from that blur of the entire morning's work to the immediacy of something brief, sitting in a chair. But it's not always going to work for every reader. There is still going to be some confusion, and there is a lot in this passage that is just breezed over. Where the hell did Kithra come from at the end of the scene? It's not explained. Now, my imagination paints a picture of startled Kithra walking down the stairs into this bewildering scene of Jamie storming out and the widow Clepide already exhausted. It's only midday, though. And Clepide is reading this curious expression on Kithra's face, but neither woman knows Jamie's thoughts, so Clepide, just demanding a moment of peace, yells out, "Don't ask." And I find that to be delightful. Maybe your imagination would paint a different interpretation of that little interaction, and if so, that's cool too. Providing opportunity for the reader to participate in the creation of the story, even in filling in these small gaps, is a beautiful thing, and it's something that comes naturally to writing by using that reader's imagination that you don't have in other media. So, in conclusion, Godstalk was one of the happiest book discoveries that I've ever made. It has this marvelous imagination and storytelling and language, and a writer who is reading closely can really learn a lot of things about the control of time in the narrative and the control of perspective as well. So this is a strong recommend. Until next time, good luck and good writing. Shai, you want to share your thoughts, or are you too sleepy?
There's not one but 2 cats in this book. 2 cats. Oh, it just puts me in a mood for thrashing.